Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhi Tamastuma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Welcome you all for this session of Bhagavad Gita online. We had these sessions at the Hindu temple of Allentown, and now we have gone online. I hope all of you, your families, most of you might have families in India. If they are, hopefully they're doing okay. And so our Swami Omkaranji Maharaj is also not doing good because of COVID. And so please keep him in your prayers. And I'm also praying some Vishnu Sahasranam, something can be done on for his recovery, for Swamiji's recovery. And I see a question here regarding my email. My email is available in the office. It is. You can ask and tell that I asked them to give it to you, so that they should be more than happy to give it. I just didn't want to type here, right? Most of them know my email, so. And so we are continuing with our inquiry into the 6th chapter called Dhyana Yoga, the chapter for meditation. And we have completed 6 shlokas. So last week we completed 6th chapter, 6th shloka. So we are entering into the 7th one. And we saw how the antakarana, the mind, which is available, is a blessing. And the mind which is all over is a curse in the spiritual path for meditation, especially. So mind is a big component in our progress. And this mind is the topic here in the 6th chapter. So please pay attention as we explore more into our mind, ways of our mind, and how to have mastery over the mind. Because that is moksha here and now. What might be tormenting, what might, most of the 90% of the problem which we are experiencing in terms of sadness and happiness, excitement, especially sorrow, it is all connected to our mind, right? So that itself is like a relative moksha to have a mind which is a blessing, which helps you all through, which is your best friend, as we saw in the last 2 shlokas. So this shloka is a continuation of the same topic, but with more details. Katham Sanyatatma. So this Sanyata, this mind which was spoken to be the friend in the previous 2 shlokas, when it is available, what all the, thank you, I appreciate that. What all the ways this mind, what all the areas where this mind needs to be worked on, that we'll see in this shloka. Very interesting, very practical, if I can use that word. You'll see that this is all very relevant. I hope I don't spend a lot of time in this shloka where I'm trying to come up with a lot of illustrations regarding our own life patterns and how we can look into ourselves, especially our minds, and make it more our friend. So let us look into the shloka. Jitat manah prashantasya paramatma samahitah shitoshna sukha dukkheshu Tatha manapamanayoho. This is the shloka. If you rearrange the words just so that we can get a nice sentence for our inquiry, we can put the Sitoshna Sukhadukkeshu in these situations. In situations where there is external situations like heat and cold, weather patterns, thunderstorm, hurricane, those situations when power cut is all possible, right? And that is all external, just those external situations. Then Sukha Dukkeshu, which is mental. This word mental is in the slang in south of India. It is called one who has whose mind, one who is who's mad. That is what is called mental, just by saying that word. But here we are talking about in a very neutral way. The sukha dukkha is in the mind. It is something we experience in our mind. We can have a trigger outside, but this is not like heat and cold, right? Where it is totally outside. Here there is some mind involved also. Sukha dukkeshu. In sukha is happiness and dukkha is sorrow or sadness. And also tata in mana apamanayoho. Mana is in praise, in being eulogized. Okay, praise. And apamana is criticism, censoring. Keep quiet. That kind of a censoring, criticism. The mind, what is happening to the mind and how we can work on it. That is the topic here in this shloka. We have to have prashanta. We have to have two qualities. We have to work on these two qualities in those three situations. What were the three situations? External situations where you have no control, weather, sita, heat and cold and all that. And then in mental situations, in a mental condition of sadness and excitement, those situations, anxiety and all those, depression, and I won't say depression, that is a technical medical word, distress, and in anxiety and all those things. Sukha dukkeshu. And in sukha dukkha you can include raga, dvesha and everything. In all those situations, raga dvesha is what? In extreme when experiencing extreme pairs of opposites in terms of what you like and what you dislike. So in those kinds of situation, the mind has to be in your hands. Weather can affect physically, but it should not affect mentally. Am I wrong? I'm right? Weather can affect physically, it does have an effect, but it cannot affect you mentally. And then this sense of sadness, sorrow and all that, there's so much mind involved in that also. Suppose we hear a bad news, say, then the mind immediately becomes so sad, right? And then later on, if that happens to be a wrong news, then can we say that this mind was all entirely responsible for the condition of sorrow we were experiencing by just hearing something, right? So this mind, it is very involved in several situations like that. I'm just looking at my notes to see what all the examples I can actually more bring up actually. So this weather, you can learn a lot from the weather and how we respond to it. How do we respond to the weather? We respond very objectively most of the times, right? Well, if it is cold, it is cold. We have to take care of ourselves, right? But when it comes to a person, when it comes to a situation, when it comes to people, especially, we don't have that attitude. If he is or she is like that, then they are like that. We just have to see what we can do so we are not affected, right? That attitude is not there. There's a tendency to change the other person. Lifelong effort, 25 years of wedding, 40 years of wedding. So one famous couple gave up on trying to change each other, rich couple, and they're going to be separating, right? After all these years, 27 years, 30 years or so. So what I'm trying to say is that, just like the weather, these situations and people, they're also outside. So what does really help us? What does really help us in those situations when we are dealing with people, especially? What helps you is keep them like the weather, keep them outside. So please keep them outside. That helps. That helps in having a mind which is composed. That is what is called jitatmanah. Jita atma yena. Jitaha atma yena. Jitaha means one who has won victory. One was claimed victory over. Atma here is what? Karya Karana Sanghata, which means what? Body-mind complex. Here the word Atma would mean body-mind complex. So one who has, what is winning over this body-mind complex? It is just to have a composed body-mind complex. You should know where to apply the brakes. When we are running, when we see a patch of black ice, suddenly we apply a brake. Or when we are walking. Otherwise, we skid and fall, right? With the car, also the same situation. We have to be careful. We have to be ready. In a car, in a vehicle, the brakes are more important than even the gas pedal. You won't agree with me, right? You think car is meant for driving. Yeah, you're right. But even if somebody asks you to drive a car and says that just the brakes are not working, will you drive it? No, I won't drive it. But if someone says this car has got very good brakes, but it has no gas, at least when you're going downhill, you can use that car. What I'm trying to say is brakes are very important. Mental brakes are also very important. You should know when to apply the brake when it comes to your mind, in terms of when you're experiencing sukha, dukkha. So if you don't apply brake, when you're excited or when you're sorrow, then it changes to kama, krodha, extreme sense of likes and dislike, and then krodha is anger, and everything it follows. The whole pattern follows. Anger leads to forgetfulness of what is right and what is wrong. Although we might have been in the same situation before, and we explode, right? The same way as we might have done in the past. So this applying the brake is very important. That is called jitat manah. And in mana apamana, this is interesting. This is where we most of us might have a problem, because we are all here and we have a relative sense of accomplishment, and hence for us pride is extremely important. Self-pride. self-esteem. That is called mana. And apamana is, as I said, censoring, criticism, very hard to accept. So this, when you have this problem, then what happens when you are not able to accept criticism? Then slowly you will end up, if this person is a very powerful person, then you will slowly end up having people around him who end up being as, in Hindi they say chamcha. Chamcha means only those people will be flattering, trying to flatter just to get their own, their own whatever they are seeking basically from you. Do we want a situation where we are surrounded only by people who are trying to flatter us all the time? No. So we should be ready for censoring and criticism. That is a free cleansing of our mind. It's a cleansing service provided to your mind without any soap or shampoo. The cleansing is happening when people criticize us, censor us. Be ready for that. Just in mentally you think, I'm ready to fail. No problem. I'm ready to, I'm open for criticism. Just that should be the attitude. So, when you go to an expensive hotel stay, there you get people like that who are always, yes, sir, what can I do? Yes, ma'am. Let me take it, ma'am. So they'll be waiting for you at the door, at the lift, at the elevator, at the reception, at the dining table, like that. So that you have to spend. So you have to spend to have that kind of an experience. Mana. And what I wanted to say is, then you spend, that spending is your punya. You're spending your punya, your merits, all that hard-earned punya, or when it comes to hard-earned wealth, you have to spend. Then you get all those praises and accolades and all that, right? The spending has to be there. Then it involves some spending. Kshina, your punya kshina will happen. Whereas when you are in situations where there is ninda, censoring, you don't have to put yourself in that situation, but you have to guard yourself. You have to really, just because you're a spiritual person, don't try to put yourself in harm's way, in the way of danger, in the way of people who are going to be, what I should say, just spitting venom on you. No, that is not the situation where we want you to be. But if it happens like that, then it is a place where you are undergoing some austerity, penance, tapascharya, which means what? You're earning some punya. That is where you earn merit, by facing the situation successfully, by having a mind. What is success here? Having a mind with yourself. Prashantasya. The other word is prashantasya. So prashantasya word would mean cheerfully. Some kind of an inner cheerfulness. So that has to be there. The shantata. Cheerfulness, yes, prashanta is not really cheerfulness. It is that shantata, that kind of not getting too perturbed or disturbed in the extreme sense. And so that is prashanta. Swachha antakarana, tranquil mind. The mind is not colored. The mind doesn't get immediately colored with hatred and and then what I should say, slavery, because somebody is praising and all that. So that is the prashanta manas. Bhagavan is having always that prashanta manah. Bhagavan, whether we are accepting his ways or not, or whether we are criticizing why such and such is happening and all that, still Bhagavan's face is always cheerful, smiling. So we are not asking you to put a fake smile, But we should have that breaks, and we should have that capacity to not let our inner peace get lost. So we don't want that. All right. So this is the thing. So it is all this is all real good thought process for your mind to prepare itself for meditation, in the sense for being with yourself in any situation, having a mind with yourself. That is what is called Paramatma Samayitah. So this Paramatma word is what? Atma, we know. Our self, true self. Paramatma is that Niratishaya Atma. I was telling in one of the classes, when someone is very happy in south of India, they say Parama Sukha. I'm experiencing Parama Sukha, undescribable happiness. Someone might say, how did you sleep yesterday night? I was having very blissfully I slept. That is Parama Sukha. So that Parama word, how is this? Suppose someone asks, you're eating a sweet, and someone asks, how is this? If you really like it, you can say Parama Madhuram. It is lovely. It is just incomparable. That is Parama. So Atma, Parama Atma means incomparable. Atma is what? The Atma which is not restricted just to your body, mind, senses. The wave which is not restricted to just the shape. The wave which, in the case of wave, what is Paramatma of the wave is water. The water is the Atma of the ocean and all the waves. So, and as water, the wave is boundaryless, unlike the boundary of the shape of the wave, right? So this is the Paramatma. Then you are Samahita Asti. Samahita means you are there is a sakshatkara of the Paramatma. Look at this verse. It doesn't really talk regarding understanding Paramatma in terms of your knowledge. It says have your mind, be a master of your mind in all these different situations, in the extreme pairs of opposite, whether it be external or internal, whether it can be from the nature or from your nurture or from your value system. It's something goes against your value system, that is your mana apamana, all those things. So in all those cases, if you're able to have these two qualities, which is what? These two mental qualities, jitatmana, having a mind in your say, and prashantatma, and having a very having some inner peace, inner leisure, without that anxiety to work on the situation if you want to, then that itself is Paramatma Samahita, being with Paramatma. That kind of importance for the mind in this chapter will keep bringing every time. Here, I'll just quickly read Puja Swamiji's translation. For the one who has mastery over oneself, whose mind is tranquil, with reference to heat and cold, external situations, pleasure and pain, and praise and criticism, the mind is always in a state of composure. This is the translation. So with this, we'll move to the next verse. The next verse, if chitta samadhanameva ishtam chete katam bhutah samahitah vyavahriyate. So if we are not worried, if we should not be too much carried away with this extreme sense of pleasure and pain and all that, mental pleasure, mental pain, and heat and cold. Say, when it comes to pain, I'm talking regarding mental pain, not physical pain, right? So then where does this person get his satisfaction? If not on those external objects, if not on those objects which can bring that kind of a thought in the mind, this person, where is he satisfied? Triptaha kaha. Who is that satisfied person? What does it take for that satisfaction? So we don't really get bothered in those situations which we discussed in the previous shloka. Then this shloka comes up. This is Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kutastho Vijitendriya Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloštashma Kanchana. So this is the verse. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma. Tripta word has come, the satisfaction word, the word for satisfaction. Tripta. Who is Tripta? Atma is Tripta. Atma here is what? Antakarana, the mind. The mind which is relatively satisfied. But satisfaction because of what? Not because of all the external situations, because of jnana and vijnana. Jnana, vijnana. Because of wisdom. Because of wisdom. And wisdom is classified as jnana and vijnana. Two categories in wisdom. One is paroksha, what we study in Shastra, in the scriptures, all those words and sentences and their meaning, understanding thoroughly, that is the paroksha jnana. There may be some questions in understanding what is given, the topic. That understanding, that clarity is jnanam, wisdom. Who is the jiva? Who is the individual? What is atma? What is antakarana? What is mind? Then, so mind is there. What makes the mind say I? That abhasa. What is abhasa? Abhasa is what? Reflected. The mind, in the mind, the Atma Chaitanya. The Atma Chaitanya, that self-evident, self-illumining Atma illumines the mind also. And when the mind takes the form of a certain object, or when the mind works on a certain situation with a set of thoughts, that self-illumining Atma illumines those thoughts in the mind, and we say, wow, now I know this, I know that, and all that, right? So that is the process. So knowing all this, then regarding the creation, utpatti, knowing all this is jnanam. Then vijnanam is what? Aparoksha jnana, that knowledge regarding, after resolving all those doubts, which makes me see my Atma Swarupa clearly, that knowledge which makes the wave as an illustration see itself as water, own up that knowledge that I am this limitless water, and even ocean is just a name and a form of a huge reservoir of nothing but water. The ocean is not separate from water. I am not separate from water. I mean, the wave is talking. I'm not talking like this, right? So what I'm just feeling, this is this aparoksha, this direct knowledge. Now I know very clearly, that clarity, owning up that knowledge, not just a textbook knowledge, but the knowledge which is owned up after resolving all the doubts. In the jnanam also you resolve the doubts, but here you resolve, in the vijnana you resolve all the external doubts, and then you sequence properly and understand. That is using all the yuktis, all the models and all that. So then you own up that knowledge. That is vijnanam. So this person, tripta, he is triptaha, jnana vijnanabhyam triptaha atma antahkaranam yasya. This is the samasa. For the this is the compound word breakup. Sanskrit compound word breakup. I just did that. All right. So this is the Triptatma, and then Triptaha is also alam buddhi, satisfaction. What is? Let us define that word satisfaction. Triptaha, alam buddhi, that relative sense of accomplishment, where there's no more seeking for pleasure in terms of external objects. There's no more yo-yo depending on situations and objects. So that is a tripta. Alam paryaptam. This kind of a pratyaya. This kind of a thought. All right. So this is jnana vijnana triptatma. That is a person who can live up to the shloka in the previous verse. And you can see that he is also, or the person is also samaloštashma kanchanaha. Sama word, samaha is supposed to be a very beautiful word in Sanskrit. Sam. In English also they use sam. Sam is like total, right? Sam means it's something good, something solid, worth. And here sama is equality, equanimity. When you add up everything, when you look at the sum, the individuals don't matter. So here, then there's an equality in that sense, right? So here also sama, equality. And because in terms of what loshta, just an example is given here. Just like in the last chapter, there was an example of jati bedha nasti. There's no jati bedha. Whether it can be a brahmana, it can be an elephant, or it can be a what is that, a dog or a dog eater. This Gnani, we said in the 5th chapter, what is that? Brahmano gavi hasti, brahmane gavi astini, and shunichaiva swapakecha samabuddhi, right? Panditaha, samadarshinaha, we saw that. So likewise here, whether it can be a lump of, loshta is a lump of clay or sand, it's a pile of sand, and then ashma is a rock, stone. Kanchana is gold. So his attitude regarding gold, the value for the gold, he won't run after the gold, just like he won't run after a piece of rock or a clump of sand. Likewise, so that means what? He doesn't have that sense of longing and hankering of after external objects for his sense of satisfaction, because he is a jnana vijnana triptatma. Not because of any other reason, not because he's an inert person, not because he's a sedated person. No, he is very alert in terms of knowledge. And then we'll see kutastaha. He is also kutastaha. Kutastaha is avikaraha. He is not subject to any change. Kuta vat nirvikaram. Kuta vat nirvikaram. He is not subject to any change. Harsha vishada kama krodha rahita. All these extreme sense of pain and mental pain and mental pleasure, excitement, all those things. Because why should we if someone thinks that what about happiness or excitement, there's a problem in that also, in the sense if even that, if it is depending on the external situations and people and objects, we know it doesn't always last. And why should I really worry about a future point where I may not get the happiness from that object? Why don't I enjoy in the present, be in the present? Yes, very good, very good question. But what would happen is your own, you have then your own benchmark for happiness would be based on that object and that experience. And when the same experience is not met with, even with the same object in a future point, that also can bring a sense of sadness or sorrow. So likewise, we can analyze all these things, right? So this is all the problem. Suppose someone says, a Mahatma is there, and a Mahatma is a sage, great sage is there in the modern time. Someone tells him, "Oh, you are like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa." Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was a great Jnani. He was in the West Bengal. He was a great saint. And then this person, this Mahatma, say, suppose if he is very happy to hear that. And the next day, if someone says, "You are like Swami Vivekananda." So Swami Vivekananda was the disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So one day, just by hearing that praise that you are like the Guru, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, that whatever excitement that might have brought, the next day when you hear that you are like Swami Vivekananda, then that person might think, what is wrong? Well, I mean, I thought I was like Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ji, like the Guru, right? So if a Mahatma is there and then everybody does namaskar to him, and if one person does not do namaskar, that can create a vikara. A vikara is what? A mental disturbance. Although everybody did namaskara, just one person may if he didn't do that namaskar like that, namaste. Whereas between those people who are all the disciples or who are all the audience, none of them care how many did namaskara to them, to each of them, right? None of them care regarding how much namaskaras they got, right? Each of them, right? Now they might not have got any namaskara, but they are in a relative sense of peace when it comes to this particular situation, whereas this Mahatma might get disturbed. Why? Because again, I'm telling about regarding how even happiness, there are different degrees. If one degree is met, next time if the same degree is not met, then that also creates a problem. So that is why kutastha, let us be somebody who cannot be subject to any change, having the samatva, like we said, the samabuddhi, the equality, that same welcoming nature. And again, you see that vijitendriya, indriya ko jeet liya, he has won over his senses, body, mind, senses. Jitani indriyani yena. So what is winning is having them in your say, having the external objects external and not internalizing, and having your senses not on the not available for you, having it available for you, senses, and the mind also. So we saw all that in the last class also. So this is a yogi. This is the yogi. And here yogi is what? Dhyayi, one who is able to meditate well. Yogi. And he is a Paramahamsa yogi who's got the viveka, who's got the right discretion regarding what is really worth seeking. All right, Atma, and what is not worth chasing after, Anatma. Suppose if you face the sun, the shadow will follow you. Suppose wherever you go, the shadow will follow towards the sun when you go. But if you chase the shadow, Anatma, I'm just giving an example, then you can never catch it. So this kind of a discretion, what really is worth going after, that is there in this. That is why this person is called yogi, and he's also parivrajaka. What is that? He is also somebody. He's a yogi because he's also done a tyaga of karma phala and all those. He has done tyaga. He's given up. He's renunciate. In the mental sense, he's a renunciate. So then what happens to him? He's yuktaha. He's then a composed person. Samahitaha, we saw in the last verse, same word, yuktaha is mentioned here. Yuktaha, we can say, iti uchyate, we can say, uchyate is say, we can say iti. Iti is what? Very certainly we can say, this person is a yogi. Who is a yogi? One who is kutastaha, who is not subject to change. One is jitendriyaha, who has got his body, mind, senses mastered. One who is samaloštashma kanchanaha, external situations, objects with all their various degrees. It's samaloštashma kanchanaha. So then jnana vijnana triptatma, jnana and vijnana triptatma is jnana vijnana triptatma. So I'm not introducing the word Maya in this verse. There's a question here. Yeah, so it's about your mind. So when we talk about the mind, we can keep the Maya at this point. We don't have to bring it over here. So it is regarding mind. It's very, very clear, right? So we are just talking regarding our mind and how to work on the mind. Maya will be the Ishvara's Shakti, power to create, and it's a very technical word. So when we talk regarding the 7th chapter, 8th chapter, we'll be discussing about that. We don't have to even think about that here, because you just have to see how your mind can really work on these areas. I've not told anything which is not tangible, right? So I'm just talking like what I should say, a personality development coach, like, actually. So, but I'm not really a coach or somebody, but this is what the verse means. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna also wants us to be very grounded and pursue this as is. With the Bhashya, I'm using all the words I'm using is from the commentary of Shankaracharya, and then sub-commentary from Anandagiri, who is one of the disciples. So I'm restricting my vocabulary and words, everything, to these Mahatmas and how they approach this problem as they do. I'm not bringing any new word, just to be, very, because I want to value your time. So I don't want you to have more confusion than clarity. So please stick to what is being told here, and to see that how you can have your mind within your say in all these different situations. So because I'm teaching also, I took this opportunity to say something more, just so that now you'll be very you're all very sadhakas, you're devotees of Bhagavan, you're sadhakas, you're practicing, so, and you're studying and all that. So I'm very enthusiastic in addressing you and trying to have you gain more clarity and growth. So with this, let us see quickly what is the translation which Pujya Swamiji has given. One whose mind is content in the knowledge of the self, who remains unchanged, who has mastered the sense organs and organs of action, for whom a clump of earth, stone and gold are the same. This composed person is referred to as a yogin. Okay, so anatma is what is not atma. Anatma is what is not atma, which means there's only unlike what I should say. All that can be objectified is anatma. All right, as Pujya Swamiji puts, all that can be objectified is anatma. Right, so that I think will help. And you're the subject. Like you, there is, unlike the subject, everything is unlike you. So you are Atma, you are the Atma in reality, and there's nothing which is equivalent to you. So that's what I was saying. Unlike, there is nothing like you in the sense, yeah, so I think you got the message. So you're the Drishya and the Drishya Viveka, that is. So all that can be objectified is anatma. Okay, next verse. This is the answer for the question here, which was told. Then the next verse, Sugran Mitrar. What is the context? Next word. The Yoga Rudaha. See, remember this word, Yoga Rudaha. This we saw in the third verse. Yoga Rudaha. So, Yoga Rudaha, one who is accomplished in Karma Yoga, and now is having a contemplative mind. That is Yoga Rudaha. So when that Yoga Rudaha is so praiseworthy, that kind of a composed mind is so praiseworthy, then what all the other means? So you look at this verse. Other means are spoken here. Very interesting verse this also is. Sugran mitraryudasina madhyastha dveshya bandhushu. It's one long compound word. Sugran mitraryudasina madhyastha dveshya bandhushu sadhishvapicha papeshu samabuddhir visishyate. So this is the verse. And in this verse, we look at this long compound word. Suhran, it's a compound word because it has got these words. What are the words in this compound word? Suhran, Suhrata, Mitra, Ari, Udasina, Suhran, Mitra, Ari, Udasina, Madhyastha, Dveshya, Bandhu, right? 7 words are there. Bandhu. And then there's a Shu. Shu is there in the end, which means what? In this, in your Suhran, what is Suhran? Suhrat means in someone. Suhrat refers to a person who is a very close friend, and he will do without expecting any return. He would be very happy to help you. So that is a Suhrat. Then Mitra. Mitra is friend. Mitra is also a friend, and is one who likes you very much. He may not be like Suhrat, but Mitra is somebody who is your well-wisher. Ari is the opposite of Mitra. Shatru. Ari is Shatru. Shatru is an enemy. And so then Ari is there. Then Udasina. Udasina. Udasina is what? Udasina is one who doesn't care. Enemy, friend, and all those situations where people are inimical or people are too overtly friendly, and all those situations doesn't matter to him. He is the Udasina. He doesn't, not that he disrespects anybody, but he is beyond those situations. There's a Madhyastha. Madhyastha is the one who's like a negotiator. Now, one who tries to resolve situations, like a panchayat. In India, we call it panchayat. So he gets into the conflict. When two people are fighting, he gets into the conflict. Hopefully, he could save himself from, or sometimes he may get thrashed by either side. But here, the Madhyastha is somebody who is able to play the role of a mediator, who is not taking any sides, like the Udasina we saw in the previous Udasina. And Udasina is okay, and acquaintance, it says. We'll have to see. Okay, so this Udasina, and then we saw Madhyastha, we saw Dveshya. Dveshya is also someone who doesn't like. Say, for no reason, if somebody doesn't like this person, that person who doesn't like somebody, that he is called the Dveshya of that person. Then Bandhu is relative. Sambandhi, we say. It's a relative, all right? So this is the Bandhu, and who is a relative. So what I'm trying to say is, in this, when we come across, when this Jnani, this person who we are discussing so far in this verses, who has a composed mind, So with these people, in coming up with these different types of people who can bring different situations to the table, and then what kind of situations they can bring. Sadhushu. Sadhushu means in two words, if you want to say, this group of people, they can be either a sadhu, means one who are trying to do good, one who are trying to go over their limitations and follow what is right and what is wrong, and not follow what is wrong, in a sense follow the shastra scriptures. They are the sadhushu. Or papeshu, one who don't care regarding what the scripture says, or what is dharma, what is adharma, what is right or what is wrong, and they pratishiddhakarishu. They're pratishiddhakari. They go to any extent to fulfill their likes and dislikes. They can be inimical to you. They can dislike this person, or they can just make friend just because they to gain their selfish ends and all that. Papeshu api. What about your attitude? This Jnani's attitude. Samabuddhihi. He has got the samatva. He has got the equanimity. Buddhi. Samatva is here in the buddhi. He may speak appropriately with some person he may not even speak. The sama buddhi, the equanimity doesn't mean just like you go and speak to a friend. It doesn't mean that you should also go after this person who doesn't like you and try to talk to him and all that. That is not required if the situation doesn't call for it. But not having the not reciprocating with dislike. So he may list all your limitations and bad qualities and all that. Still you say, okay, just if you're in a situation where you have to listen to all that, just patiently listen. And then if he's a sadhu, if he's a sannyasi, Mahatma, he will say, now I know what all the areas I need to work on. Or he may not even say, he may think in his heart. Or he may even satirically say, without really trying to be funny, he would say, I knew whatever you have been calling as defects in me, I already knew. I was just patiently listening to see if you're going to come up with something new. Like that, you can just brush it aside. Have the sama buddhi. So buddhi in samatva is in your intellect, in your buddhi. All right. So there's no curiosity regarding what this friend is going to do for me for this birthday and all that. That curiosity is not big curiosity. And then you are special. Visishyate. That kind of a person is very special. Visishyate. And is also vimuchyate. He also is free. In all these different situations, if you are relatively, if your mind is composed, what more is freedom, right? Your mind, if it is so composed, then that is the real freedom. Because once the mind gets into the cycle of hate and guilt and giving it back and all that, then it is an endless cycle. Then you try to fix it up with more committing yourself for something new, or worrying about what you omitted in the process of chasing your sense of like and dislike. So that is the real bondage. So if you're free from that, then it is real freedom. Muchyate vimuchyate. So this is this person, and it's all regarding the samatva buddhi. The samatva and the buddhi is a big topic here, the equanimity. And I wish you all the same samatva in all the different situations. We'll see more. This samatva is not a static, inert equanimity, equality. This is a very dynamic, situation-based response, a very controlled, very deliberate response, as Puja Swami would say. And that has to be cultivated, developed. And I wish you all success in this area. And we have great shlokas coming up. The shlokas which follow is regarding meditation, purely regarding meditation, which place you choose, how you sit, and where you look, everything is coming. So I'm glad I'm stopping in a point where we can come back and purely discuss the topic of meditation in our next session. Ekaki and Yatachittatma, again, Nirashi. Then what is that? Rahasi stitaha. You sit in a place where you have least disturbance and all that. We'll see that next week. And as I said in the beginning of my session, now we have more attendees. I'd like to say, please put a word of prayer for Swamiji, Omkaranji Maharaj, Vishnu Sahasranama. We are also doing a Homa tomorrow morning at the Arshavidya Gurukulam. We did Homa for Swami Vitatmanji Maharaj last week. And Swamiji is doing very well with Vitatmanji Maharaj. We also had him come today online. And tomorrow we are doing for Swami Omkaranji Maharaj. So please keep Swamiji in your prayers. We need Swamijis to continue teaching and doing great work what they are doing already. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. If you